Okay, well, welcome everybody, and thank you so much to the team at District of Invermere for making the time to talk to Invermere business owners and answer some questions today. I'll throw right into just some for the folks that have logged in. So there's a Q&A box at the bottom, which will provide the place for you to ask any questions that you have. If you see a question asked by somebody else that you were going to ask, if you click the thumbs up button, it will rank that question higher on the list. So that's a good way to kind of to make sure that the most relevant questions are being asked and answered in order. Yeah, the goal today, I think, is just to provide some support for the businesses in Invermere and to hear what initiatives or things the district's working on, what their priorities are right now, how their operations are going. And I'll start as well by just saying, hot off the press this morning was from the Prime Minister's announcement that the loan threshold for the Canada Business Support Loan, the $40,000 loan, the threshold was expanded. It used to be 50,000 minimum payroll to $1 million, and it's now 20 to 1.5. So they've made some changes to that. That's going to open up the access points both for smaller business and for the medium-sized businesses that can utilize that product. And there's also both provincial and federal talk and chatter around commercial rent support and commercial lease support. So don't have the details on yet, but it was encouraging news to hear that they're working on those things and that those priorities are being heard. So I'm going to throw over to Mayor Miller. Perhaps you can kickstart the introductions for the DOI team and give a quick update or a rundown on things from your side.
Great. Certainly, thanks, Pete. First thing, I want to make sure that everybody realizes we are in the district offices. I'm not here to play hockey today, but I am here to prove that we are doing our part with social distancing, and so we're under control that way. And I'd like to introduce our interim CEO, Kindry Luyendyk, is with us here today. Because obviously my job as mayor would be a whole lot more difficult if I didn't have some really good senior management staff at my side. And so I suggest that I'd like to introduce Kindry, interim CEO. And to my right, I've got Karen Cote, our Chief Financial Officer for the district. And certainly really keeps us on track. And so between these two ladies, we're well in hand and moving forward with a good direction. I certainly want to thank the Chamber of Commerce right off the bat for allowing us to have this panel and move forward. I think it's very important in these days, these uncharted territories and times, that we have this opportunity to have a really good, frank discussion with our business folks and be able to, more than anything, in my opinion, open it up for questions and answers. I'll certainly give you a quick rundown. I'm going to let our two ladies here give a quick rundown as well, but I'm really going to be open for questions and see where the concerns are. How can we better help and help manage? Because it's been said before, we're all in this together. So at any rate, when it gets to the financial side of things, I'll turn it over obviously to Karen and any other administrative things that I can't handle, and there's lots. I'll be counting on our interim CEO Kindry to help out there. Just a quick rundown on our office. We too here have really taken it serious. The whole social distancing, the people, we have people working from home. The office is closed. We have people working from home. We have people working in the office. And it's very important because we get a lot of people calling in interested in or trying to understand what is happening, what parks are closed, or a million questions daily about what's happening, how are the operations rolling. When it comes to our public works, the same things. We've implemented single drivers in a vehicle. So you're going to see on a lot of job sites where there's multiple vehicles, and that's because no one truck is operating with two public works people in it. We're trying to use caution wherever possible. They're not coming back to the shop to eat their lunch or breaks. They're enjoying that right on the job sites, or lunchtime they're at home if they're close by. The office has been very busy. Our technology, I think it caught the virus too at one point, because as soon as everything was starting to come down with the added additional problems with the COVID virus, our computer system decided to crash at the same time. And so that is a big part of the reason why our communication at the very onslaught of this was less than desirable. And we apologize for that. It's not the way we would have liked it, but it wasn't helping. We couldn't adjust anything on our website or Facebook or get the message out that way. We did a little bit via paper, the Pioneer, but that's where it went. At the same time, our sign that sits at AG Valley Foods, you'll see that it's shut right off. And again, it hasn't worked really well from the day that it was put up there. We've been in constant communications with the sign company. They replaced it once, or replaced some of the modules already. And again, it's down again. So we couldn't even put anything up on that particular sign. We had budgeted for a mobile sign, so we upped the ante on that one and brought it in sooner than we had planned, so that we could put that at Pothole Park, just to start the process and get some messaging going there. And that's the one that you see there. So that's those are a couple of the problem areas that we had. One of the other areas that we have seen that is going to be a problem for people with this, being out of work and time on the hands, the importance of our gardens, our raised beds that we were planning at MNAP. We've put a priority on that, and so that's on the work schedule now to get our raised beds up and rolling. And that is going to be that's going to be quite good, because that'll give a lot of people something to do, planting their vegetable gardens up at MNAP if they've been lucky enough to manage to lease one of those gardens, and they can do that through Groundswell. They've taken that project on for us, and so the initiative for food is very important. So we're prioritizing that one. I think I'll probably open it up a little bit here at this point. Just a couple of the financial things, Karen, if you could just talk about some of the financial side of things
Sure.
at this point.
Yeah, so initially, with respect to utility billings, Council has extended the due date. So we invoice for utilities in the spring and the fall. Typically, our spring utility bill would be due on April 30th, and they've pushed that out to November the 2nd. So they are not due until that date, and continue to run through the summer without penalty. So due date for utilities has shifted from April 30th to November the 2nd. The second initiative that they just decided on this week was to extend the property tax due date from July the 2nd to September the 30th without penalty. We still are legislatively required to charge a penalty. In addition to the extension of the due date to September 30th, Council has split the legislative 10% penalty into two installments. The first is 5% on October 1st on unpaid taxes, and the second 5% penalty would be on November 2nd. So again, running that due date till late in the year. Cash flow for the municipality continues to be a bit of a concern with all those late due dates. We do have a bylaw in place to allow us to do temporary borrowing through the Municipal Finance Authority. So that bylaw is in place, and we can draw, I can get into details if you wish. Sure. For amounts. The bylaw is 75% maximum of previous year's taxes, so we have capacity to borrow up to $6.2 million short term in anticipation of those tax revenues coming in the fall. So we have that already in place, as well as a line of credit with our bank of the municipality, which is the credit union, and that is just under $1 million. So as far as cash flow, we've taken a close look at that, and we believe that we can, we're able to put forward these initiatives to give the businesses and residences a bit of a break on having to pay those bills. And then the last item I wanted to mention is where council has temporarily suspended the 1.5% monthly interest on unpaid business licenses and miscellaneous accounts receivable until a later date. I can also speak to the provincial school tax, which has been reduced by 50% for businesses. And there was a further announcement just today, another 25% amount that's floating out there. I haven't looked at the details of that announcement yet before this meeting, so I'll be definitely looking into that as well. And I think that's all I have from my end.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Couple of things. We've talked about all the closures that we've done on our Facebook and website, but just again, our parks are all closed down. The MNAP, the skateboard park, Kinsman Beach areas are closed. Again, just trying our best to practice proper social distancing. We want to flatten this curve, and a big part of my job over this last 2 to 3 weeks has been to promote that message. And I'll say it right here and right now, it's been not my favorite job to do. Telling people to stay in place, stay at home, whether you're in BC and not coming this way, or Alberta and not coming this way, has been not the thing that I normally promote and like to do. But with our health authorities backing and right across the country, that has been the deal that is going to flatten this curve. And so we're going to promote and we're going to support our healthcare workers in that. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know that's going to be a question for some. Some people weren't quite as enthusiastic about me sending that message as others, and so be it. It's all fair to debate, but it's what we had to do at the time. Kindry, was there any other comments or anything you wanted to fill in? Or,
I think the only thing is just the level of service. Right. So council would like to continue with as normal of level of service as possible with cleaning of the roads, line painting, flowers, just making it feel like a normal life still. So I think that's
a very good point. One of the things that we discussed right off the bat was in our budget, because obviously cash flow is our concern as well. Here is our flower program, and it's a fairly costly item for us. But the thing that our flowers provide is a vibrant downtown area. It's certainly very, very welcoming for our citizens that wander downtown to enjoy, as well as our visitors. And so we're hoping that when end of May and June rolls through, and hopefully things start to loosen up maybe a little bit by then, that we'll also have some beautiful gardens for people to look at too. And that's going to be very, very important to help lift some spirits. Oops, my social distancing statement. That's going to be very important. And so we decided, I mean, we had a contract with the flowers, so we really couldn't change it anyway. I sort of thought at one point maybe we could change flowers for food, for seeds for food, but that's all been chartered ahead of time, and so we couldn't change that. But at any rate, we felt that that was important. So I think at this point, Pete, I'll certainly turn it back, and we can open it up for questions or answers, or however you'd like to proceed.
You bet. That's great. There are a few questions popping up in the box here, and we have unfortunately had a bit of technical challenge. I'm getting a few texts and emails on the side here just with people that are having a hard time getting in. So for those that are listening, we are recording this, and we will try to post it online, and perhaps at the end of this meeting or in the coming days, we schedule a second round in the next week or two, if that would work for you. Just so that folks that couldn't get in today may be able to get in the near future. But let's jump into the question and answers, and please, to any of the attendees, fire your questions into the question area here. If you see a question that somebody else has asked that you were going to ask, you can simply click the thumbs up, and it will bump that question up to the top. So the first one here is from Syndicate Board Shop. Karen, you touched on this, so this might go to you. Property tax is going to be a huge issue even in September. Is there a contingency for a possible reduction instead of just deferral?
Well, I did comment as far as the provincial taxes for school tax. That's definitely a reduction. The tax rates for the District of Invermere will be coming forward to council at the next regularly scheduled council meeting, which will be on the 28th of April. So when we did pass our financial plan, there was a tax rate, a notion of a tax rate increase, a small one, in the financial plan, and that'll be up for debate at that meeting. Okay, great. And I think the best way, if you have a follow-up question to something that's been answered, just put it in the question box again, and then certainly you can email me, attendees, or email the council directly with any additional questions you have if it doesn't get answered completely today. Jocelyn Brunner from Summit Footwear is asking, just to confirm, we will still have to pay a 10% penalty if we defer our tax payment. Yes, Jocelyn, the 10% is actually in law. So it's legislated under the community charter. Where council has a little bit of discretion and leverage, and it has to be passed through a bylaw, is to take that 10% penalty and divvy it up in a couple of different manners. So I do know that there's some communities, I'm getting information through my information sources of other municipalities that are continuing to have the tax due date on July 2nd. A lot of them are continuing to have that as the hard date, and then a 5% penalty on July the 3rd, and a further 5% penalty later on in the year. I believe that the city of Cranbrook didn't extend their due date. Now, correct me if I may be wrong on this, but I believe they're keeping their tax due date at July 2nd with a 5% penalty on July the 3rd, and the second 5% penalty on December 31st. So it's basically up to municipal councils how they want to either stay with the legislated 10% tax due penalty on July the 3rd, or create a bylaw to split that 10% penalty up. But we cannot, under law, waive the 10% penalty, unfortunately.
Okay. Thanks, Karen. Another question from Jocelyn is just how much is the school tax?
It depends. We don't have the amount of the school tax yet. That comes from the province, and we haven't been privy to the tax rate yet. What I do know is that there's absolutely going to be a 50% reduction for businesses in light industry, not residential. And then now there's this other 25% amount that was just announced today that I'm not clear what the parameters are on that yet, but I'll certainly be looking at that after this meeting. So it depends. It's a tax rate per 1,000 of assessed value, just like all the other tax rates, but how much that is right now, we have not, none of the municipalities have been notified in the province yet.
Great, yeah, and I think the theme and the trend that I'm seeing is certainly that they've tried to address business needs first and foremost in terms of wage subsidies and loan programs, and now we're starting to see that next wave of rental support, tax breaks and tax ratios and percentages and those kinds of things coming in. So even programs that have already been announced and application processes are already in place, we're seeing changes still being made to those programs. So it's incredibly challenging, and I feel for everybody because it's a moving target, and keeping a finger on it is definitely challenging. So thank you for that.
There was a couple of these announcements, as Karen was saying, just made this morning, and so I just received a couple, and so we don't even know the depth and everything else, and it's a changing target daily. So we'll certainly be up to date and working with them as they come.
Perfect. Question here from Kyla Lamb, Aspire Professional Services. Any consideration in trying to come up with a way for the library to function in some way? Parents are struggling with the volume of screen time their kids are facing, with the school largely being on computer too. After a month, many families are desperate for books. Have we looked to see what other communities might be doing and come up with something? I'm not sure who's best to answer that one.
Do you want me to answer that?
I'm gonna move this one over to our Kindry, our interim CEO.
So I'll talk to the library director about that. The library isn't actually directly connected to us. They're run by a board of directors. And so they've chosen to close. They make all the decisions for the library. But we definitely talk with the director, Ann Rogers, a lot. And I can chat with her and see if she knows what other places are doing, if she has any ideas on that.
And I can just add to Kindry's comment. I do know in discussions with Ann that there's quite a bit of, it's either provincial or federal grant monies that are being targeted towards not physical books, but their e-books. And she's getting more information on that as well, because that announcement just came out, I think, last week or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Again, Kyla Lamb, speaking, I think, specifically to the district, what have you done to try and save money and pass that on to residents? Does the DOI qualify for the 10% wage subsidy?
I can answer the second part of it. We tried for the 10% wage subsidy. Municipalities are exempt from that, unfortunately. And as far as trying to save money and pass that along to the residents, I'll turn that over to Mayor Miller.
Certainly we are. We're definitely trying to save money this year. There's been many capital projects that we've looked at that we are going to be deferring, and we're going to be looking at it sort of on a month-by-month basis, and some will be probably deferred to 2021, where others may be deferred till the fall. No, we're looking at cost savings throughout the district.
Okay, wonderful.
One of the, sorry, just an addition on that, we look at our staffing, for instance, and we're being very careful about additional staffing at this point. Normally we're starting to ramp up for the spring, summer flower plants and things like that. And we're being very cautionary on our hiring. And so there'll be more things done in-house this year than we anticipated at the start. So it has to fit within our budget process, but no, the team is being very, very careful, very diligent on any decisions that we make. But I guess the biggest thing is we are deferring projects, and some will be deferred into next year.
Okay, great, thank you. Dr. Tricia Duffy-Etkin is asking about the land purchase in Lakeside. So what is the status of the large land purchase for the Lakeside land? Has this been completed? If not, will it be canceled? Usually there are clauses in contracts that give an out during outstanding circumstances. Has the viability of canceling the purchase been discussed with the district lawyers? I believe that's already closed, is it not?
Yeah.
So yeah, the short answer to that is it is done. It's in our hands. We've paid for it. We've done all the borrowing and everything else for it. So it is our land. But I'll step out on a bit of a limb here, Pete, and also suggest that I know it's difficult times, but even through difficult times, sometimes you have to still look at your future and you're purchasing, and this was the right thing to do, was to purchase that land. And what that is going to do for our valley, for our citizens, for the future is going to be tremendous. And so, and everybody is going to be able to put their input into that as to what we do to move forward and before any final decisions are made. So it's a good thing. I understand it comes with a property levy for everybody that is not going to be very much fun this year. But hopefully we can get through this virus sooner than later. Everybody pays attention and does the right things, and we can move on and get down the road. But there's going to be some good things happening with that land, and I'm quite pleased that it's ours.
Okay, wonderful. A couple more touch points on the 10%. It's just Syndicate Board Shop asking who mandates that 10%, and Jocelyn's just weighing in asking if our MLA would be the one to lobby to have that 10% tax waived.
I can answer that question, Pete. So that is mandated by the province of BC through the community charter. I don't have the section in front of me of it, but it is in the charter. As far as MLAs lobbying to have it, generally laws within the community charter don't get passed unless they pass through the Association of Kootenay and Boundary Municipalities, onto the Union of BC Municipalities, onto the province for legislative change. So it's, I don't know, maybe that's going to be on the plate for the UBCM this fall, but it's not an easy change to do that unless, yeah, I don't actually know what the provincial process would be, but it would have to be changed in the community charter.
Okay. Jocelyn, perhaps it certainly wouldn't hurt to send a note to MLA's office. We also have a call, if some of you may be aware, with MP Morrison and MLA Klobuchar tomorrow. That will be on at 11:30. So if you need the details to that, just email into events@cbchamber.ca, and we can get you the information today so you can be a part of that and ask some of those questions to the provincial and federal representatives. I had a question for you just around summer events. What's the plans right now in terms of summer events for the District of Invermere, i.e. Canada Day parades and Valley Appreciation Days? Are they still on the calendar? Are they being officially pushed back or pushed off?
I think at this point, nothing has been canceled, but watching very carefully. The July 1st parade and such, is it going to happen? We have to wait and see. There's a lot of waiting and seeing going on here. Valley Appreciation Day, which is I think the 18th this year, I believe, if memory serves me right, is the date proposed, and I think we're all hopeful that that will proceed, but it's a wait and see. We're following Dr. Henry very closely every day. We're listening and to watch the line as it flattens, and as many of the officials have talked about, if we come out of this too soon just to rebound back into it, that's not good either. And so we have to make sure that we're doing the right things. And so we're following their lead, and our direction is taken from their lead. So nothing has been canceled. We're just waiting and seeing at this point. Okay,
great. And another question I've been fielding quite a lot, specifically this week, that you may or may not be able to weigh in on officially, is businesses are having a hard time with the gray areas around essential services and non-essential services, and wondering what they should and could be doing. They're all, especially those that are closed and not offering any form of delivery service or gift certificate service right now. Obviously, they're each chomping at the bit to get open again. Do you have any words of advice in terms of how they could help make that decision right now? And should they try to operate within the boundaries of the health guidelines and safety measures that are being mandated? Because they're trying to, I think, they're trying to see how they can keep some cash flow going during this time.
Totally understandable. And that's a tough one. Certainly, it's being mandated that essential services only are operating, but I would suggest that they really look at whatever service that they're in, talking to possibly their accountants would have a good knowledge of how they feel that they can operate efficiently. Curbside, possibly phone in, online ordering. I would be investigating all of the above to figure out how I could still be in business, because I totally understand every business, the concerns that they've got, the cash flow. It's a huge concern. So I think I would be really talking to our accounting people, because they're fairly knowledgeable, and creating those plans with them as to how they can work their cash flow. Can they operate? Can they not operate without, getting outside the guidelines? I don't have any more information other than that, really, though. It's going to be their own due diligence that's going to prove one way or the other. But I would suggest curbside sales or online if they can possibly do that.
Yeah, and I know from a BC Chamber call that I think Work BC is starting to look in by industry as well, and offer recommendations around that. And I know they, again, with the CERB benefit for those sole proprietors and folks that are not necessarily taking a direct wage from their business, I think you are now able to earn up to $1,000 a month and still receive CERB. So they are a couple of wins that way as well, I think. I'll jump back into the chat box here, or the question box here, and I'll just let the attendees know that we are going to stick to an hour today at max. So we've got about 20 minutes left, from what I believe, if that's correct there, DOI team? Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So Katie Wells, do I understand correctly that you have deferred the 10% to not come into effect unless paid after September 30th? And secondly, would it be possible that you further extend this if the situation doesn't improve? So I think just to re-clarify.
Sure, yeah, so taxes will be due on September 30th rather than July the 2nd.
Okay.
The 10% penalty is being split, 5% on October 1st, and then the second 5% on any outstanding taxes on November the 2nd.
Okay.
And to answer the second part of that question, if would it be extended, that would have to be council's decision, and it has to be done by bylaw.
Okay, great. Syndicate Board Shop's just asking, maybe are we or how are we going to be proactive in welcoming back / apologizing to our part-time residents?
Absolutely, I'll take that question. Certainly, I've been out there, as I say, for the last 3 weeks with a lot of media, different media across the country, talking about the importance of staying in place, basically following the rules of our health authorities and following their direction. This is not our direction of the community. This is our direction being basically legislated to us from our health authorities. And it's the same thing right across the country. So pretty much on every interview that I've done, I've also asked the interviewer to please give me the same amount of time when this is all done so that we can actively invite people back. And they've all agreed to it. So I'm hoping like heck that they stick to it, but my plan is to be certainly out there with the media, inviting people back just as soon as we can, and hopefully making them feel just as at home as they were before. Again, this has not been a fun thing for me. This is not in my DNA, telling people to stay at home at all. So the welcome mat will be put out when we're given the green light.
Okay. Great. Just a reminder to attendees that now is your time. Please answer or ask any questions you have. We've got about 15 or so minutes left. So fire them into that question box. You may have touched on this already, but any indications as to when outdoor parks might be the restrictions might be eased in terms of opening up play areas and community areas, Kinsman Beach, those kinds of things?
Right, good question. And again, I keep listening to the news every day, and I'm certainly on phone calls every week with Minister Dix and Minister Robinson in regards to how we should move forward. And they follow what Dr. Henry talks about as far as the distancing and how we should move forward. And they have not given us the green light yet as to being able to move forward and relaxing any restrictions yet. So I'm not prepared to relax any restrictions yet until I get the word from the health authority side. That is their expertise, and I'm following that.
Okay, great. Mylene is asking about the 75% wage subsidy. I might be able to weigh in on this one. If we compare March 2020 to 2019, we are up for sure, as we were in the new Front Street location for a few days in March. Can we use a different way to calculate and show down, compare of where we should be? Marlene, my understanding, and maybe just feel free to give me a call or drop me an email. I believe you might have emailed me yesterday as well. The 75% wage subsidy can be compared year over year or an average of January and February. And they reduced the requirement to only a 15% loss in March, and then a 30% loss in April and May. So if your average was X over January and February, and it was down 15% in March, you qualify. I also understand it that if you qualify in March, you automatically qualify for April. So you don't have to reapply in April. You would then reapply in May, and you'd have to show the 30% difference either against that average or against the prior year. So it does open the door a little bit for businesses that have changed circumstances or are new within the last 6 to 12 months to do that a bit differently. It's an interesting thought that I know there's a lot of anxiety around how audits may occur and what might come back to bite businesses if they apply for certain things and take them and then turns out that they're not able to benefit from it. And the best answer I've had from any government official is try to apply for it. If you think you qualify and you feel you have a case, that you should go for it. The 10%, if you are eligible for both the 10% and the 75%, the 10% would basically be factored into the 75% calculation. So ourselves at the chamber here, we're taking advantage of the 10% savings that they first announced. We will also be looking at our revenues, which is difficult for us to do because we're largely membership-based and events-based and grant-based. So we have we don't have a very steady cycle of revenue. But if we were to be eligible for the 75%, that would just reduce by the benefit that we received already from the 10%. So, but yeah, definitely please give me a call. If you want to take my cell phone number down, you can. It's just 250-688-5323. So I hope that helps. Okay, I think she's good on that one. I don't see any other questions. Were there any other thoughts or comments from the DOI team? We may kind of start wrapping this up if there's no more questions coming in.
No, I think you've covered. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think so. I don't think so, Pete. All I can say is from mayor and council and from our management team and staff, we're all in this together. We care, and we're something. One of my objectives as coming on as mayor has been right from the get-go, but more so now than ever. And these two ladies who have heard me say this before, is warming up the doorstep and making ourselves available to help. There's some things that maybe we can't change because of community charters or whatever. But that's not to say that we don't care. We care a lot, and we want the whole community to get through this, and to get through it reasonably well, and it's going to be difficult. So at any time, if there's a question, a problem that you face, give us a call. Don't hesitate. Give us a call. We're here to try and help. As we move through this, I mean, there's different things happening all the time. Karen talked about new things coming down from our government this morning, and as those changes happen, we're going to try and react to help out wherever we can. We care, and we want everybody to get through this properly. We certainly hope that we can be able to relax some of our restrictions on parks and things like that in the near future. That's certainly our hope. I hope that our community gatherings this year do not have to be canceled. Our appreciation days and Canada Day and bull riding. I'm hoping that these are all events that we'll be able to come together again as a community and celebrate big time. Because a lot of people have gone through a lot of angst lately. A lot of people have got a lot of things on their mind, and I, for one, are the same. You know, we're all feeling it. So I just want everybody to know that we're in this together. We're going to try our best as a district to get through the operations and make it as smooth as possible, and not put any further weight on your businesses than we can help at all. Like, we want to work with you. So the phone line is always on, email is always there. Do not hesitate. Give us a call.
Great, thank you very much for that generous offer. And there was just a question that popped up from Barry Thompson. Have you heard anything regarding the farmers market? Has it been postponed in terms of a start date, cancelled, or unable to be decided as of yet?
The farmers market is considered an essential service, and so it is going to carry on. There will be probably changes that they'll have to make if things don't relax a little bit prior to June. I think they're looking at mid-June of starting. So if things haven't been totally relaxed yet, there's going to have to be spreading of booths and things like that. That is all looked after by the Royal Canadian Legion. And so I know they are working through their processes and trying to figure it out. They're good planners, and so they want to see this happen as much as anybody else does. So I believe I can say there will be a farmers market. It could look different.
Yeah, and I know I've heard of talks regarding, you know, potential online versions of things through the BC Farmers Association, and yeah, I think there's a lot of work being done on farmers markets in general right now, and yeah, it's early days, but I think more is going to come. Sorry, one more anonymous attendee. Property tax is going to be devastating to people and businesses. I think more needs to be done. I think that's just a comment. I'm not sure who made that comment, but I don't think anyone would disagree on that. And to Karen's point, we're not sure what may or may not come down the road with regards to that. I know obviously government is dealing with legislation in a whole different way than they have in past years or in ever. So let's hope that something can be done in that regard as well. With the ever-changing marketplace or ever-changing things that are going on, shall we maybe look at doing another one of these in a couple of weeks? Would you be open to that from a district team?
From a district team, we are wide open, Pete. We're here to help. And between now and another week or two, I can guarantee things will have changed. So, absolutely. So yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you to all the attendees that made it in today. And I apologize if you're hearing this on recording and you couldn't get in today, but we will do our best to get this up on websites. Dave Jarrett, that was fantastic. Thank you for your time. Perfect. Thank you very much, David. So with that, thank you very much to all three of you, the BOI team. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to the next time that we can do this.
Excellent.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Stay well, stay safe.
Thank you so much, everybody.